Looks like it's going to be only us because I don't see anybody joining us in online. So it'll be just us. So it'll be good. I'm not cold. Actually, I wear right kind of clothes for me in my case. Yeah, so I'm good. Okay, so, well, just the three of us, so it's even better, I guess. I'm gonna take mine off. Okay. All right, so we're just gonna, okay, we moved because of the other place. The other place doesn't have a right kind of connection for me. Okay, that's why I moved. Oh, right there, right there. So clean it before you sit down. Oh, okay.
Yes, so somebody was engaging in.
Yeah, yeah. I just had my class. Okay, this is what I'm, so, is it? I feel okay for my case. Yeah. So this, anyway, first thing, I thank you for coming here for this workshop. I appreciate you. I just want to share what I have learned for writing an NSF grant. Like, I don't know much about business aspect of like kind of what kind of grants you have, but if you have your basic steps right, then when you write your grant, you be prepared to write any kind of grant that you want to apply, because NSF grant is one of the hardest grant to get it. Like a lot of small business grant is much easier than getting a NSF grant. So if you do learning all these steps that you need to learn, then it should be much easier for you to write any kind of grant. So it's kind of like informal grant writing workshop. So I'm gonna go through the steps that I'm gonna.
Can I invite you to like our MS? Can I invite you? And then I can. What I invite your screen to share. Yeah.
I'm using a Zoom right now. Remember, I sent you guys a Zoom link.
Zoom link? Yes.
Yeah, look at the email. Yeah, when
Are you recording it?
Yeah, I'm recording right now.
Okay, that's good.
So I'm recording. Yeah, remember Miss Green sent out the Brock announcement?
Yes.
That announcement has my Zoom.
How many?
I don't see anybody. That's what I'm saying. I don't see anybody.
Okay, just record it.
Oh, I see one person, Miss Chowdhury. She is watching. Yes. Okay. So it's just recording. So I'm gonna put my student going to probably edit stuff for me, so they can take away stuff they need to be taken out and then put it on YouTube, and then I send you a link. Okay. And so today I just wrote down some steps that I usually take when I write my grant. I mean, this is not all the steps, but I just write down like 8 steps. Okay, and then goals and some great resources that I thought it'd be good for you guys to look at it. Okay, so the goal of this workshop is I just want to show you like what kind of steps you need to do, like little steps. Just take these steps. Like I see writing a grant as like a math problem. Because when you do your math problem, you cannot just came from like a hard calculus problem into like solution. You got to step by step and then come down to the x equal to this answer, right? That's exactly what it is with grant. The grant has so many criteria that you have to meet. So go through the step by step. And also, hopefully, like looking at this, I hope you can have you'll be a little more encouraged. Like, okay, grant writing is not so hard. It's a long process, but it's not hard. I'm not kidding. I just keep using math as a grant writing, but like when I teach calculus class, my students say like, oh my gosh, this is so long, it's hard. A lot of time it's not really hard, but it's very long because it's a very complicated algebra problem that you have to do. Same thing with the grant. It's a long process, but if you do step by step, starting early, but it's not too hard, right? So the first thing you got to think about, what kind of ideas do you have? Like you got to have an idea to write something. So the idea would be, think about some kind of problems. What do you see as a problem? Okay, like you look at your school or look at society and just think about some problems you see it. Okay, think about problem like for me, when I wrote my grant, I knew my calculus class is failing miserably. okay? We had like a 50% failing rate. So like a failing rate for classes, that'll be something that you can write about as education grant. And then also retention rate, right? Everybody worrying about the retention rate. Are we, is your class retaining a lot of students? Was a lot of people just, drop out of your class? What happened to the school? Like look at the retention rate. That's another thing you need to look at it. And then also think about your colleague or yourself. Am I efficiently teaching my class? Am I equipped to teach my students? Okay, so think about, faculty development. What kind of faculty development can I give to my colleague? What can I attend to improve myself to be a better teacher? And another thing would be think about your skill. Okay, like what kind of skills do you have that you can write a grant about? Like for my case, I know how to write a program. So almost all my, I wrote 4 grants so far. All grants, I use a program skill as my, highlight, I guess. I was like, I'm a math person, but I can program, and I'm gonna incorporate my program into teaching. So that's my background that I'm gonna incorporate. It doesn't have to be a program, but just think about something that you do well that you can incorporate into your writing. So, and also you have to realize you need to use your skill to solve a problem. Like you see a problem, you need to use your skill to solve that problem. Okay, how can I, for example, failing rates, like say calculus class failing rate. So what I suggest was, how about I write a short program for each problem, and then let them kind of, by writing a program, you have to think deeply about the problem. You cannot just write a program without thinking about it. So I'm forced them to think about the problem and then break it into small pieces. So I use that as my grant idea. It's like I'm gonna use my skill programming to improve calculus teaching. And then also need to do is like, since the UAPB has quite a few people have a grant. So check with other people, what do they do? Can I utilize their ideas? Like you may want to utilize my ideas, what I do, okay? Think about what other people, like Dr. Wangila and Dr. Onulaga, Dr. Walker, they just got a grant too. Same kind of grant that I have, but they have different ideas, have exactly the same grant. Okay? So, and then also always you have to think about it. If you want to write any kind of education grant or
if somebody already got the grant,
no. We're different departments. It doesn't matter because like mine is math. They're doing I think biology and chemistry. So it doesn't matter. We're a different subject. So you don't have to mention at all. Just get ideas. How did they write? Okay.
So if, for example, we are in the School of Business, we see education or education grant, all right?
Yeah, sure.
Even though it's not a business related.
No, I mean like you have to say how it's going to improve your students. Right. Because like whenever you write something, so this is my thing, I'm trying to say how to improve student success. That's the important part. Like your grant, you bring your money to this school and your department, your school. Then, the money brought it here because you want to improve students. Unless it's a completely research grant. Even if it's a research grant, you still have to improve students somehow with their life, their learning or something. So you have to think about how it's grant going to help them to improve. Right, so now let's look at we're going to intellectual merit. So every grant needs to have intellectual merit and a broader impact. So intellectual merit is like your project, you need to explain why it's important and how it's important, okay? And then also need to talk about also intellectual merit part is you need to make sure that you and your collaborator or your co-PI are qualified to do the work. For example, I'm always interested in looking at the optics, like telescope. That's my hobby. Me and my husband, we do astronomy. So sometimes I think about writing a grant about telescope and astronomy, but I will not be qualified to write a grant about astronomy because my background is not physics. In that case, I need to have somebody extremely qualified person to be my co-PI or collaborator to let the NSF or whoever gonna evaluate me and say, oh yeah, maybe the PI is not most qualified, but there's people who can support her. Well, I say, I have ideas, I'm gonna use these people to help me to achieve this. Like for example, you're not a programmer, but you wanna incorporate programming. Then you need to have somebody who is a good programmer who can help you with this. Okay, so make sure that it's well qualified. You cannot write something, some research grant or education grant without you being qualified. If you're not qualified, they will not give you a grant. And also, every grant needs to have some kind of originality, like something different about it.
Somebody don't have much background, much experience in the matter, so maybe you can apply the pilot. Because, pilot they because some faculty don't have much background in research, then we could apply the pilot, program.
Right, you can practice. Right, right. Using that as your experience, then you can use that as your experience. Like I have done this pilot research, and I did this kind of work. You can put that as your experience, right? That would be your qualification. Yes. Like you have to somehow concretely show that you are qualified. Okay, you cannot just say, for example, my second grant that I wrote, is like I am still evidence learning, evidence teaching, evidence instructional. I know how to do evidence instructional method. I wrote it, but I didn't give strong evidence that I did it. So my critics, the people who do the review, and they told me right away, you said this, but I don't see any evidence of you have done it. Like, do you have any evidence to show that you have done? Like they need to see like a concrete example that you have done. That grant, I got a partial approval. They like everything else. Right, the money that I applied was $400,000, but they gave me $150,000. So that would be my part. That would be my pilot in a way. So if they like your grant, they may not give you entire money, but they give you pilot money, like you say. But everything has to be just right. But like there's like say there's 7 items you gotta do, but one item was short, they still give you money as kind of like a pilot grant. It's like I will give you 1 year to do your work, only one activities that you want to succeed. And if I succeed, that'll be my evidence to show them that yes, I can do other 7 of them without any problem. Yes. Mm-hmm.
What would be the best route in my field, find something? What I need to find someone else who has, a vast knowledge. Where or partner with them?
You can do that. Also, you can look for like small business grant, because I know because of right now our atmosphere is really good for HBCU. So there's a lot of money, small monies you can apply. So you need to Google it and say, the HBCU grant. Is there any grant for HBCU faculty? Like just Google it. Like that's what I usually did. Like I didn't know about this HBCU KIT grant, Target Infusion Grant, until I just Google it. I do a lot of Googles because I don't like our institution is not a grant institution, right? So it's not a research institution. So we don't have really like a setup for anybody to want to do research. Like you yourself has to go out and do a lot of Googling. But it's nice about now, everybody like to just put up there what they do, like because like their success stories, they like to just put up, say, I earn this much money, or I got this grant from NSF, or I got this grant from HP, like different companies and Google's, and like they have different grants. So you need to look for those. Like we actually, because we're HBCU, we have a more opportunity. Okay, we have, and then sometimes some grant, like some grant is only we can apply. Like the one that I got, all 4 of them, that's only we could apply. Like I'm not competing with the white dominant institutions, but I'm only competing with other HBCUs. So we have HBCU 120. So I'm only competing with 120 institutions instead of like thousands and thousands of institutions. So we have a higher chance. Okay. So we definitely need to use, trying to look for HBCU first. Like my next grant that I'm planning to write, not this year because I'm still working, I'm just setting up my new grant. So like I said, a year later, I'm gonna write a new grant. That one, I'm gonna just write a regular grant because I feel like I have enough experience writing a HBCU grant. Now I'm gonna apply to regular grant. Like a regular grant has more money. Like so regular grant means like say NSF. NSF has one division called HBCU. So we have seed money of like 20 millions or something. Okay, that's a lot of money, but like a regular grant has like humongous money. Okay, like some institutions receive like 10 million just for the one institution. So, but I mean, like there's a UMS has a lot, huge grant. They have a huge grant. They actually giving out those grants to other like us. Like I think Dr. Wangila got it a couple, 3 or 4 years ago. He got grant through the UMS. The UMS received like a huge amount, and they dividing that amount to dividing into smaller institutions. So that's another thing you can do. Yeah. And then also can talk about the broader impact. The broader impact is something that we can do pretty well because about teaching and learning, okay, how it's gonna improve your teaching and learning. And then what kind of social benefits, okay? We have a lot of social benefits, like we raise our students well in UAPB, they can go out also help the Pine Bluff area a lot, okay, other Delta areas or something. So the social benefit is a lot. Like the grant that we receive, we are like we're guaranteed to give a social benefit around here because we're living in a Delta area, which is we are poor, income-wise, we are very poor here. So we can help more that way.
Maybe the social benefit of this project could be like, for the increase that the regional social benefit.
Right, economics. Yeah, right. That's also social benefits. Like if you include high school, yeah, that'd be fine too. That'd be a social benefit, definitely. Like you go out doing outreach, doing recruiting. Like I don't have to. Mine does not include any of that. I am just focusing on our students in UAPB because. Right, like in my case, the benefit I gave was my students. If I don't hire, like I hire usually 4 to 10 students per semester. If I don't hire them, they have to work at McDonald's or Burger King's or someplace with the minimum wages. But I pay them $15 an hour, and then also they get to study. Like whatever they're working for me, that's actually their major. They need to study. Like they're doing a calculus. They're studying calculus, and they still get paid. So my social benefit that their job is I give them a calculus problems. They need to solve those problems, and then they need to help my calculus students. So I don't give them. These students has to solve peer. I call them a peer-led team learning leaders. They're peer teaching another peers. So I do my calculus lesson and I send them to my peer leaders and say, hey, this is a lesson. And then I'm gonna send a student to you and you study with them, you help them. So they're tutors, but they're more than a tutor because they get to also study. So in a way, the benefit I put it was they get to enhance their knowledge. They're not just being there, sitting there, but they actually have to study. So they're enhancing them, right? And then they get to teach other people. So you get a social benefit by talking. You learning how to be social. You know how to be a leader because you're teaching them and leading them. So that kind of stuff, I put it in as a benefit. Because I'm raising my student to be a leader. I'm raising my student to be social, more sociable. I'm also raising my student to be more approachable to other people. You cannot help other people if you're not approachable. So I'm just listing different things. Right. And then also, how does it help with our infrastructure at UAPB? Like creating a tutoring lab, it's increasing your infrastructure, right? Because now other people can also join. Also, it's infrastructure-wise, it's enhancing because other people can also mimic what you have done, and other people can also, other department can do it. Next. Yes, I'm going to slide. I'll definitely share this. Yeah, I will give you a slide and a recording. So recording will be YouTube, and then slide I will just email to you guys. And then you need to make sure you have a disseminating plans. Disseminating plan will be okay, very easy. You can start with your department. You can do the school, and you can, if you want to, you can also, and also, you know, it's the UAPB Research Forum. That's one of the good dissemination plan. And then you look for your regional society. Like I always go to Mathematical Association for America. I always go over there and present my work. So look at your field and what kind of conferences they have, and then you can present your ideas. And the next step, the second step, the first step is like think about what kind of stuff you want to write about, right? The second step is you need to search for grant. Like I'm gonna only do something that I know well, which is NSF grant. Okay, so when you go to NSF grant, you have NSF Gov and then funding. Okay, this is right here. That is your website. When you look at that, just go to the funding. Okay, and then you get to type whatever you want to type it in. Okay, anything you have questions, like I did one for you guys for business and see what kind of grants you are. Okay, so another thing, if you want to write something, you need to give it 6 months or more so. Okay, don't, like your grant is due in November, don't start it now. It's like actually like right now it's kind of even late for November grant. Month is not good enough. Like a lot of big grant, you need 6 months. I'm not kidding. I usually takes me 6 months because like all my grant that I wrote was usually like letter of intent is July. So I can, letter of intent is not that hard because you're gonna say, oh, this is what I wanna do. And you're not answering all the criteria. You just say, this is my plan. So letter of intent, just like nobody really cares. They just want to know how many people are going to write the grant. So letter of intent will show the grant director, say how many people are going to write this grant. So letter of intent is not that hard. So you can just do it, finish in 1 day if you need to, but that's usually July. But the real grant is usually due in October. But I usually start in like in May. So work like just over this spring semester, and I start writing my grant. Sometimes I start in my spring semester, so I'll make sure that I have enough time to finish it before October. I don't like to wait until the last minute, and especially in the school itself, takes 2 to 3 weeks to get all the signatures. Yeah, so you do. I think they usually give you at least more than 6 months. Like mine, like NSF grant, that HBCU grant that I have, they usually post it like a year ahead. 1 year ahead or something. You got plenty of time. They always also do it every year, same time. So if say you can do it this year, then you can do it next year because you know that's gonna be there again next year. A lot of
school like ours, what kind of grants opportunities, what kind of such area do we have to focus on? So HBCU grants, yes, small business grants.
Yes. And then you gotta think about like this. Okay, so I'm gonna just skip my step and I'll show you what I did. I know. I cannot do more than, I need to get out by 12:30 because I have another class. Okay, so this is what I did. I searched for business grant, and then I saw, this is a Columbia University Business Department grant, okay? So this is something that they got this one, like this Carrie Chen, she got a NSF grant, okay? It's $150,000 for, she did a management of a transitional care unit to improve hospital outcomes, okay? So yes, you can write NSF grant as a business because this is some example that I found. Okay, so also
kind of a whole blend.
yeah, you can use it too. Yeah, yeah. So this is another thing. Like NSF means National Science Foundation, right? So they heavily focus on STEM, okay, science, technology, and mathematics and engineering, right? So that's why people say business right now, a lot of business department, they always incorporate like a STEM education into your program. That's what I heard from a lot of schools. A lot of schools having a problem, like business department having a problem funding wise. So that's why they always extend the program into like a STEM focused or something. So like you have a business and you're going to say business focus on STEM or something, and then you can write a STEM grant. So you need to look into this because I heard that from, I cannot remember, one of my colleagues. I went to the grant meetings, the PI meetings. There are all kinds of people show up, not just math people, biology or chemistry, but there's a psychology people come, there's sociology people who teach that class come, like education or business. They all come because they make it into STEM focused.
I was saying, I heard that some institutions are programs like management engineering.
Right.
Whereby you go to some engineering
Right.
program into the management side.
Right.
Like chain management that we always talk about, meetings and other stuff.
So I think even the UA Fayetteville, their business department actually incorporating a lot of STEM to it because that's how they can bring more funding. So that's another thing you guys need to do. If you don't see any small fundings or something that you want to write about, you got to do work anyway, then you can kind of, like department-wise, school-wise, kind of like have the focus to the STEM.
That is also we were trying to make some collaboration between
Right.
Right. Because as I said earlier, we have a business maths, right?
Mm-hmm.
Business maths, we add some elements of real mathematics into it, or the course that you mentioned the other time, the mathematics, what do you call it, calculus, calculus or something like that. We can add it to our program, and that is part of that's part of this type of work.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to focus there, right? This is what you need to do. That's a good idea. Like say, industry tech taking your class, a part of them. This is what you need to do because I'm just going to give an example. Like I said, my the one that I got as a pilot grant, $150,000. That was a college algebra focus. My point was this: college algebra was taken by all these STEM people, like say industry tech, biology, or chemistry, and everybody's taking this class. And my argument was, if you fail this class, they cannot finish their STEM career. That was my argument. So you can do the same thing. Say if somebody says industry tech is one of the biggest STEM majors in UAPB. Then you need to focus that, say, industry tech is the second largest STEM majors in UAPB. They are taking this class and we have high failing rates. So I would like to focus on this class to improve passing rate. So these STEM majors can improve. I mean, they can pass this class and move on to their careers or pass to their success. So you can do that, yes. So that case, yes, you can write it. So
I'm thinking I teach production operations. I got several students that they
that's right. You need to do that. Then you need to say you need to focus on that class. Like you don't have to focus on every class. It's like I focus. My first one is focused on college algebra, and then now I'm focusing calculus. So when you write a grant, you don't need to have like many things, but you need to focus one thing. Say I'm going to do really well in this thing. If you say I'm going to do this right, I'm going to do that right, I'm going to do this right, the grant reviewer going to say, oh, he's not going to do it. There's too many of them. There's no way. Like the grant reviewer is the one who wrote grants before. So we kind of know what you say I'm going to do is what is feasible, what is not feasible. Because like, that's another thing. You need to sign up. That's another thing I like to say. Sign up for a grant reviewer. When you become a grant reviewer, you get to see how insiders think about the proposal. Like the last grant that I wrote, I got an excellent as my review because I did a grant review 3 times. As a reviewer, I saw what the grant director is looking for. So I kind of know what insiders want. So when I write my last one, I put exactly what they want. Right. So right. So a lot of time, if you're not excellent, you still get it. If you HBCU and you have enough arguments, show good arguments. Excellent means you automatically get it. Yes, pretty much almost automatically get it. But it doesn't become excellent right away because first thing I should say grace of God, okay? Because I told you I'm not really extremely smart, anything like that, but I work hard and then I also pray hard. Okay, so so I do. So I went to review the grant reviewer, become a reviewer. When you become a reviewer, you gotta do a lot of reading because they give you like 7 to 10 proposals to read, and you have to go through reading, and then they give you criteria to look for. And then you look at it and say, oh, this person doesn't have this point, you mark. And then you don't have this mark, and you mark. And then people got everything, and they usually get excellent. You missing 1 or 2, you get a very good. Then you miss more and more, and you get become like a poor. Okay, so they got like a list of things they're looking for. So you need to have all the things they're asking for, you usually become excellent. But if you're missing something, your grade gets small, worse and worse.
So like, I know Dr. Miller,
Mm-hmm.
Miller, works with a lot of NASA grants, a lot of research. I think she would be a good person, because she also deals with industrial care. She has a background in physics, but she had a real engineering.
Right, great. Right. So think about that, like somebody that you think you have, or like that's the thing. Like if you haven't write anything, you need to keep, contacting different people. Okay, this is what I did. Like so, example here, I found like something to write about. Okay, and then I found history of Black college and university, excellence in research, and I found like a university of undergraduate program. You need to kind of narrow down which one you want to look at it. Okay, and then they are the program directors. The program director, if you call them, they hardly answer the phone. So you need to write them a letter, email, and give them a week or so. If they don't reply in a week, then you can remind them again. But email, send them an email. They do. Yeah, usually they give you within a week. If they don't, you need to write email again, say reminders. I just want to check. I'd just like to check on you about this regarding this email that I sent you a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Just remind them. You don't check? Yeah. I bet so. Yeah. That's true. So what I usually do, okay, this is just solicitation. Make sure that you read solicitation really well, comb through it, and write down everything about what they ask for. Because a lot of times they lose points because missing things. Like some people didn't even write like a mentoring plans. I couldn't believe, because like they said, a must have a mentoring plan for your undergraduate students. Like you need to have everything that I asked for. Okay. But anyway, so there's a program description, you see it. Like this is the one that I wrote, the Target Infusion Project. So go through every one of them, make sure that you can have all the things you're supposed to do. I'm gonna go quickly a little bit, okay, because it's already 12 o'clock. So like you need to make sure that all the dates, because if you miss your date, you cannot write it. So make sure you know the dates so you can submit on time. Because if you're late, they don't take it, not even a 1 minute. Okay, so you need to do it. So like also you need to search for what you want to write about. Okay, I usually look at their criteria, their solicitation, I put targeted and look at all the targeted, what do they say, and I read about it. That's just a skim through, and then later on you need definitely print out and then go through, highlight it, and then see what you're supposed to do. Let me see. And then this is what I usually did. Okay, my first grant that I wrote, I went to the search award, so which means somebody already have a grant. I want to get their help, and which means by help means I hope they share their proposals with me. Okay, so what I did, I look at the search award, and then I find different people, right? Different people who wrote a grant. For example, I just chose Arkansas. Okay, in Arkansas, so we, like UAPB, got quite a few grants. Okay, so yeah, Dr. Benjamin got that, and then you see there's a me, and then there's also Dr. Vanilla. See that? Yeah. Yes, you see that. So you have this. And what I do.
The one in blue, the topics.
Right. And underneath it shows how much and their names and all that. Okay?
So when you say that, when you have 100 people there, 100 people.
Oh, that's the name of grant name. It's called HBCU Up Targeted Infusion Grant.
Okay.
So I just put the target. You're right.
Okay. These are the people that got it.
Right. So there's a different people. So you need to look at the website, and you will know it'll be easier for you. Like you don't have to just look at the Arkansas, but I just show you the Arkansas because you're familiar with the people that we work here, so you know who got the grant. Okay. So what do? You got a grant. You press the blue light, click the blue, and it will show you this. Give you a little more detail. It gives you abstract. Okay. So look at this. I'm just giving you mine. And so it shows how much money I'm getting, when I got it, okay? And then look at underneath, it shows abstract. Okay, so read that abstract and see whether that's something that you want to do. That's what I did with my very first grant, my research grant that I wrote, Research Initiation Award. That's a research grant. That means you can talk about anything that you want to talk about, but just make sure you need to make a strong argument with the intellectual merit and broader impact. So the very first one that I wrote was I look at people's abstract and then say, hey, this is something that I like to do. Then what I did, I send them okay, so after I look at them, when you look at this, they have an email address right there. You see my name, Anna Harris, and then there's it's an email address, right? So I get that email address. I usually print this one out, okay? And then I send them a email. Example email that I send. I usually send out like 20 different emails. I go through all the apps. So write a grant, you gotta read a lot. Okay, you gotta read and read and read. So I read their abstract. Whatever the abstract that I liked, I get their email address and I print out their award abstract and then I show them in case they forgot. Like some people has many grants. So I want them to know this is a specific grant that I'm talking about. So I just send them a polite email, say, hey, my name is this. I just introduce myself and then say, I want to write a grant like you. Can you help me? And then I also tell them I will not share your proposals with anybody else. I'm just like a simple writing polite letter to somebody. Okay, almost nobody respond to you. Okay, nobody will, but they're like a one person or two people may. Like when I send out like 20 different emails, I usually get maybe one reply, maybe two, but which is okay. I don't need many. I just need one or two to see what's going on anyway. So if you send out more, I bet you'll get more replies. But I usually do about 20 of them because I usually, but probability wise, like 20 out of a one over 20th. So I get like 5% chance getting it. So I was like, 5% is fine, you know. So I usually do sending on, yeah, I do 20 of them because I want to get 5% at least, which is one person. So I usually send out 20. Like if I send out one, I feel like I may not get any. So I usually send out 20 different emails to different people. Okay, so you do that. Because they don't want to share their proposals because that's their intellectual property. No, like sometimes like it's like that's like theirs. Like people who share, they usually have a little more mature, I guess.
So the NSF does not share the full proposal.
No, they don't. Because it's intellectual property, right? Only abstract. Abstract can see, anybody can see it. So the proposal, the full proposals, usually it's not there. So I actually asked my grant director when I first time wrote it. I said, can you send me a copy of the awarded proposal? And the grant director told me that's their personal property, intellectual property. So it's the best way to you contact them. That's the reason that I'm start reading their abstract and then sending them. I mean, you can get it through the some kind of act, like but it'll take a long time. Like there's a public, this is a public domain that you can get it because we're getting a public money, but the process is long. So the grant director always said it's best for you to just directly email them and just politely ask them.
Okay, what is the proposal you're requesting?
So because I want to read and see what they said.
Okay.
Because sometimes I don't have I kind of know what I want to write about, but I don't know how to word it. Like right now, you had an idea about industry tech and using them to write a grant, but you're not so sure how to word it. But if you read somebody else's grant, you say, oh, this is how they articulate it. So you kind of learn. You're not going to do exactly like they do, but they give you ideas like, oh, you know what? I can do similar way. You know, I will do this way. So that's why I wanted to read a lot, like read people's when you do the literature review, those articles that you read, then you get to see how they articulate it. So ideas they have, we have ideas, but a lot of times we have a problem articulating well. Okay, so but if you read somebody else's, they kind of teach you, oh, this is how I need to word this, right? This is the way to, this is how you make strong point. Oh, okay, like something, if you're already good writer, may not have this problem, but I hate writing. So it took me a long time to write one because I'm not a naturally good writer, but I have to work hard for it. So that's why I have to read a lot. Somebody else's to get ideas, and then I can kind of composite to make my own thing. So by the way, do not start late again. Like a lot of people, I mean, like I talked to the grant office before, a lot of faculty waiting for a last minute to submit. But you have to realize our administrator is busy. They're not going to assign your paper right away. So if you think the deadline is tomorrow and you're trying to get a sign from everybody, you're not going to get it. That means that proposal you wrote is not going to be submitted on time.
So
No, we go to the grant office, like Dr. Morozabi, right? So, but they get to send out that to different people, but it doesn't come right away. So you need to give them 2 to 3 weeks. So they got plenty of time to get all the signatures on time and then submit it. There's quite a few people from chemistry department, they didn't get to submit it on time. And they just have to wait for next year. but it's very heart aching because you work so hard but you didn't get the signature on time and then you couldn't submit it. So I usually, like I say, mine is November 1st deadline. I finish my grant by October 15th or October, like beginning of October. I usually give them 3 weeks because I just don't want to have that problem. Right. So, write a full proposal, make sure that you get that. But here's the one that I need to show you, like for the NSF grant, this is everything that you have to do. You have to do cover letter, you have to do reference. Reference is part of your proposal, that's fine. But the budget, okay, that's another thing. When you have next time, when you have time, if you guys want me to do another grant workshop, then I will probably go over some budgets because if people have a problem with how to do the budgets, because like whatever the reason is, budget is hard for some people. You don't know how to do your budget, and then that kind of kick them out because you didn't do your budget right. The budget and mentoring plan, all those things need to be done part of your NSF grant. So that's why I said NSF grant, if you can do NSF grant, you can do other grant without any problem because we have this many components you have to turn it in. Not just the proposal itself, you got to do data management, you have the mentoring plan, you have to do facilities, you have to do bio schedule, everybody does it. Anyway, all those things pretty much needs to be done, part of your grant for NSF. So that's why you got to take it all in up. Like writing a proposal is supposed to be done like a month before, and then start doing other documents that you have to do.
How long?
I usually take, for me, 6 months. Yeah, because I write my grant proposal usually done in summer. I guess so. You're right. Because like some of those part I can kind of reuse it, so it gets quicker. Like my mentoring plan, I wrote a nice one, so I keep using the same thing. I just add a few more stuff. Yes, that is true. Right, it is template. So this is you have to submit all this, and the part that you have to work really hard is a project summary and project description. That is your proposal. So project summary and project description is just your proposals. Everything else is like a supplementary documents that you have to submit it. That's why I just have to work, starting early. It's not hard because mentoring plan, there's quite a few mentoring plans. You can Google it. And you can choose some of that into yours, and then you can incorporate with your ideas. That's what I did with my mentoring plans. I did what I wanted to do and then see what other people did and just combine it. And then there's a MIT, this place also. So when you go to MIT, MIT is great. They have a really, really good website. So you just follow through this. Funding opportunities, and look at what they do, how to write a project summary, how to write project descriptions, references, and all those things. They gave you detailed information. So I use this one as like my guide. It's like we don't have, we're not like MIT, of course not. Okay, we don't have that kind of money. That's fine, but we can use theirs because it's free for anybody to look at it. So use that as your resource. So I do a lot of Googling. I just Google all the time. Like whenever I don't know, I just Google and see is it something that somebody else has it. So this is what everybody can use, right? So exactly. So it's a public domain. So and then they happen to have more money and they got all the things established, then we can just use it. We don't have to invent new wheel. We can just use what somebody else already has. So that's that, and then I told you about this, and then I saw other also grant information. See this one, I typed business, and then I saw all those things came out in NSF. Right, because I typed business, and then this is a grant that I saw. So you need to read through and see any of this, because I don't know how relevant to you. That's the part that you have to do. Read their abstract and see if it's something that you can do. And if it does, then send them an email. Say, hey, this is this, and I would like to have, say nice things about that. And then I would love to have this to help my students and my colleagues and improve our learning and teaching. Like something is positive about this, like you helping me out this, or that means you're helping my students, my colleagues, my administrators, our reasons. Give them a good reason that why they need to help. Because people like to help other people, and especially it benefits other people too. So anyway, I put my information and then the grant link is right there. This is my presentation. It's in my box. If you click this link, then you can get exactly the same thing. So I'll upload it to the place. And also, can you do the sign in for me? Let me send this information to you guys so you can do sign in and a survey for me. Because I like to know whether you guys enjoy this grant workshop, and then if you liked it, then I'm going to probably make similar ones. But this is just the overall, okay? So when you start writing, you'll see a lot of details you have to do.
I think what I see there is because of the
Oh, there we go.
I don't know how you do it. One, I suppose maybe because you've been doing it for some time.
Right.
Whether it's the first or second time. So
I know, like I've been writing myself because, I guess because I kind of know what I want to do. Like I'm a math, which is, there's a lot of money for math. And I also know how to program, and there's a lot of money for programming. So I don't need to like a lot of time collaborate with other people, because what I have is more than enough. But say what you have is not high demand, then you need to collaborate with somebody who's in high demand. We can work together. So you need to focus like, oh, I forgot what's your name. What's your name? Goben? Dr. Goben. So I like his idea. He said, I have a student who's an industry tech. That's a STEM person. So you need to look at your classes and see which students are STEM students, and is this a required class? If it's a required class, for the STEM major, then you have a high point. You can write that into NSF, because this is, say, bottleneck of the students is passing their careers or something.
So this class, one of these classes is like
Your economy class. But if you want to apply for STEM grant, you need to focus on STEM people and say this, okay, you have to do both benefits. Like this, say, business class, say everybody taking it in. So this business class will give you benefit to non-STEM majors, and this, STEM majors for that. And you can divide into it, and then you're going to say, and then you need to focus more on the STEM major, how it's going to help them. Because you're trying to get money from the STEM people. It means you need to show this is a STEM focus. Right, so you need to see who's giving you money. Then you need to focus that onto what they want. Like say small business looking for just to expand business opportunity, doesn't matter, it's not STEM focused. In that case, you can just write about anything to improve business aspect. Right. But the business class is a good class to talk about. Like if the business class have a problem, like failing rates or retention problems or some kind of problem, so you need to see a problem first. If you don't see a problem, you got nothing to write about. What are you going to write about if everything is going well? Right. So you need to say, I see a problem, so I need to take care of the problem. So the first thing is identify problem. What is the problem? If you want to write an education grant. If you want a research grant, that's different. Research grant means anything that you're interested in, that you're good at it. And just talk about that. And then you got to add something, say, I'm good at this, but I'm going to add this new stuff to make it better. That'll be